What's up, guys? We're just going to do a little quick, not necessarily a ramble, but we're going to do a little update about a post that went up the other day. Now, as everybody should know, there was a 48-hour beta opt-in thing that Guild Wars 2 was running on that Arenanet put out. They hit their 1 million mark for people to put in for the beta, which is awesome. That is an amazing amount of people that are interested in this beta. And honestly, some of us got email invites. We didn't have to opt in for it, but it's really cool that they basically did that. And I've seen a lot, and a couple people have messaged me about that no, I beta test exclusively, and I beta test, well, not exclusively, but you know what I mean, that I beta test a shitload. And they send me messages, about, well, what's the state of the game right now? What is, what's going on with it? What is this 48-hour bullshit? Why can't we just, have beta invites whenever, and then they just go from like a lottery pool and select like that? Honestly, the state of the game, if you look at it right now, is very concrete. It seems that the one thing that they're really struggling with, not really struggling, but they're fine-tuning and they're keying up, and I'm going to talk about a bit about it, is actually what is commonly referred to as WVLA or WVLY. It's World vs. World vs. World. And as we all know, the press beta was it last weekend or the weekend before? I can't remember. I'm so overworked and so tired all the time that I can't really remember. But yeah, and it's basically where they let the big shots in and like a few hundred other people, and they let them take their video captures and their screenshots and everything, so basically to promote the game, because the game is very close to hitting open beta, and the game is very close, obviously. I'd say before mid-year you're going to see a launch of this game, which is very exciting because we've all been waiting a very long time for this game. What this basically means is the whole 48-hour thing. It was last weekend because it hit really quickly. It's like, oh, 48 hours, everybody see what you could put in. And in 48 hours, they got 1 million people opting in for the beta. Now, the chances of, if you put in for the beta, you actually getting the beta without previous beta experiences, or if your specs aren't necessarily up to par. They want to test, obviously, a broad range of specs for computer. They want to test, low end, mid end, and high end. So, taking from a pool of 1 million people, obviously they're not going to let 1 million people in, but they're going to let a significant chunk, more than a few hundred people in. And honestly, you're going to see this ramping up. And this isn't basically for like the hardcore beta testers, or they're the people that know exactly how betas work. This is more for the people who are just confused right now, and they're saying, well, why can't we get in? Why can't, we do this? And why can't, I'm very opinionated, and I can tell them what's going on with the game. Basically, the main core of the game, as you know, they've been working on relentlessly. And I'd say probably the main core of the game right now is in the phase where it's just smashing out the bugs and the glitches and the collision detection issues and things of that nature, and just fine-tuning, the overall product. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. The main game is just about there. I'm just getting over the flu. So if my voice is a little raspy, I do apologize. What we're really testing for now, honestly, and we're in the beta, starting of the betas of server load, which is they want to make sure that their servers are up to par, which basically can handle, so you're going to see it ramping up closed beta to closed beta. You're going to see more and more people being invited in, because actually I'm in another beta test right now, which I can't talk about, which I really wish I could, because the game is fucking amazing. Honestly, it's not as amazing as Guild Wars 2, but it's really beautiful game. I'll talk a little bit more about that when it gets closer to launch, which will be about third quarter of this year. And yes, I will still beta test it after Guild Wars 2 goes in open beta and finally launch when it's available. And no, I'm not cheating on Guild Wars 2, so don't even think that. You know what I mean? Anyway, but yeah, so what we're getting into right now is, and it's you might as well call it the final countdown, because what you want to do with your game is you want to get the core mechanics down of the game, and then what you want to do is focus on what everybody wants to do, and which is the one big event. And every game, every MMO that's ever come out has always had one big event. You know, with like World of Warcraft, it's raiding. You know, it's just across the board, it's always something different, but it's always something monumental in these games that has to work perfectly. It has to work without a hitch, and it has to come off and be rewarding, as well as beneficial to actually participate in. Now, the key thing in Guild Wars 2 is the world versus world versus world. Okay, now they're fine-tuning it right now, and they're finalizing on exactly how they want it to work. Right now, they got a lot of problems, mainly with the siege blueprints, because the siege blueprints are beneficial in world versus world versus world, simply because, let's just call it Wubbly. I like Wubbly. That's a good term. But yeah, and the main focus, what they want to do is to save, obviously, on server lag, and to save on lag in general and things, because, you know, you've seen this in game after game after game. If you give somebody a machine gun and a matchstick, they're always going to go for the machine gun. Always. You'd be stupid not to. Okay? But what they're trying to do, and I hope they actually pull it off, which they should, because Arenanet is really intelligent. They want to get the cost versus use of the siege blueprints right in that range. You know what I mean? It's like, because right now it's like, if I remember correctly, it's like between 10 silver and 1 gold. I'm going to link the post down here in case anybody hasn't seen it. If you haven't, you've been living under a rock. But you know what I'm getting at. They want it to be useful and not flooding, basically to save the server stress. You want it to be used when it is most beneficial, and not just pulled out by any Johnny 2 times and just start blasting off with his portable cannons and shit like that, you know. So that's a big thing right now. Also, you know, how many per world on a certain map. And the maps are the size of worlds themselves. You want to get these numbers correct. You know, you don't want numbers so high that you can never obtain these numbers, and one side could be way overpowered while the other side is kind of like, we got 3 people on our side and they've got 1,000. That's not going to work, you know. And with the clear and concise direction of world versus world versus world, because, or sorry, Wubbly, you know, it's brilliant content, and honestly, they've tested it during the press beta weekend. But honestly, Wubbly isn't about 3-day events. You know, the last I knew, it might actually have changed by now, but it was 2 weeks. Each match lasts 2 weeks, which is an amazing amount of time, and really adds to the ambiance and the structural integrity of basically what we have, which is the PvP world versus world versus world, versus the PvE elements, which are very well under control. Because, as you know, when players are in complete control of a world, things can get pretty hectic pretty quickly. So basically, all they're doing right now is trying to get all the numbers crunched, and trying to figure out how to incorporate the siege blueprints to make it, you know, beneficial more or less than necessary. if that makes any sense. And they're also optimizing for the capacity of each side versus map size. So that's where we're at, integrity-wise. I wouldn't say it's going to take excessively too long. Obviously, they're going to keep fine-tuning it and testing it and everything as we creep into open beta. You'll probably still see work on it really heavily right into launch, I'd say. You know, it's going to be complete on launch, but at the same time, it's not going to be complete because they're going to have to tweak it and fine-tune it, and probably some people will get pissed off and say, well, why did you take this out, or why did you change this? It worked perfectly before. You can't make everybody happy all the time. That's a simple and honest truth. Okay? But overall right now, I'd say the game is probably 85 to 90% in the box. You know what I mean? They could be printing off disc copies of this game right now. You don't know. Arenanet is very secretive about what they do. Now, honestly, you could be saying, well, what? They've been, you know, taking this thing to events and everything, and they've been just, you know, working on this thing fingers to the bone. What can they possibly have left to do on this? Well, every game's going to have bugs, especially with something as big as an MMORPG. Okay, you're going to have these little things, mostly collision detection, and honestly, you know, you don't want world holes. World holes are a huge no-no in a game. One thing that ruined it for me in Family Guy Online on my second time through on the beta, which a lot of people asked me for footage of it, but after I got slapped on the ass by Fox, I kind of figured, keep it private. You know, I'm not gonna put it out there and flood YouTube with it. But yeah, you know, you got stuff like, you know, I'm gonna put some video reference in here, and I'm gonna circle things that, you know, are just minute little things that you have to work on here and there. And these are called out by the beta testers, which is basically, if you're accepted in the closed beta, you have to call these things out to them, make them aware, because as busy as Arenanet is, they can't catch everything all at once. Some things are going to happen, hearsay, thearsay, your mathematics and everything and your coding aren't going to collide correctly sometimes. And, you know, it just comes down to a thing is like, well, is this always doing this, or is it a certain time this is doing this? I mean, it's very much, it's a migraine, okay? I wouldn't even want to imagine the amount of work and all that shit that goes into stuff like this, because getting this to fly off where you get to the final curtain and everybody is, you know, just happy with it and just it plays to perfection is a monumental event. Whether you want to admit it or not. You can hate Guild Wars 2, you can hate MMOs in general, but you have to give credit for people that can sit down and make this shit all fly. And not even, so you don't even have to think about it, okay? Now, what can this basically be attributed to? And somebody asked me, is like, well, when, it was actually somebody in the guild asked me, well, when can we know to check our emails in case we get into open beta? Ooh, sorry. And I would say, honestly, right now they're working on things that they got out of the last closed beta, and they're refining and everything like that. So I would say probably a week or two. They'll announce, obviously, when the next closed beta is going to start, and you'll be able to check it. But usually closed beta invites come in through your email. At least I've always gotten them, and I've been in, you know, dozens and dozens of them. They usually come in about midweek to late week, because usually the closed beta arcs usually happen between like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, early Monday, things of that nature. They usually don't happen in the middle of the week. For some reason, Fox and Family Guy Online like to do those 4 hours on a Thursday night. I don't know what the fuck their problem is. I really don't. But yeah, you know, it's like when you got a game that's just huge, and honestly, I don't think they're going to see a lot of, because you're not going to see closed beta last for weeks and weeks on end. you're gonna see it last, weekends. They're gonna get their input from the people who actually played it. They're gonna stomp out the bugs and the glitches that they found, and improve on the things that they need to improve on for the next closed beta arc. This is all an arc system. It basically, you know what I mean. And truthfully, I think that the world versus world is basically like the cream on the cake. That's all it is, basically. It's like, this is the one huge thing that they're left working on. Obviously, you got some of your team balancing out everything, so all the professions meld together perfectly without any thought or whisper or anything like that. Then you've got, just little graphical touches here in the world, here and there, just to make it feel more alive. Then you've got, but mostly right now we're in the phase where it's like collision detection, hitboxes, things like that, that just, some things just don't make sense. And you have to fix those, and then when you're happy with it, then you press it into open beta. And when we hit open beta, as we all know, open beta just about means release anyway. Open beta just runs in a cycle until launch of the game. So that's where you're going to see your world versus world really come into effect. If it's still on a 2-week cycle, then you're going to see extensive testing, and you're going to see extensive, they might bring it down for a day or so to rehash the things that have problems in the world versus world. But honestly, right now, it's just coming down to things like that. But I've taken up way too much time on this. So yeah, I want to say to everybody that watches GameJunkieXL, I wish everybody the best of luck in getting into this phase of closed beta testing. If you do get in and you want to chill out, you want to, party up with me or anything like that, my character is going to be named GameJunkieXL, just like the channel. So if you guys see me in the game, or you see me running around or whatever, just give me a "what's up," It's good to interact with people that watch me and talk to me. I actually got a chance to play another game for a minute with somebody that watches GameJunkieXL, and it was pretty fun. We talked on Dolby Accent, and actually I'm going to do another video where I'm going to tell you how to get in contact with me if you don't know. So all you guys can. So anyway, without further ado, let's do some video of some of the things that were noted from this last press beta. Okay, and just as an example to show you the kind of things that we need to tweak and shit like that. Okay. So anyway, guys, it's been cool. Yeah, I got a boo-boo. But yeah, this is basically where we stand right now, and we're getting very close. So it's gonna be fucking epic pretty soon. You know what I mean? But other than that, yeah, that's basically what's going on right now. For anybody that was confused about the post or closed beta in general, there you go. And I'll catch you probably next time on Monday when I do the ramble, which is going to be pretty cool in itself. I hope you guys stay tuned for that. And yeah, till then, peace.
Refreshing.
Every day I'm shuffling.